Greetings, friends, and welcome to Captain Samuel's Sigils. You can't have a book on haul without a book haul to follow it up, right? So I got back from visiting a new bookstore that I've never been to before, and it was an interesting experience. It was carefully curated with an emphasis on speculative fiction and science fiction. The prices were really high, though, because they knew what they had, and it was kind of a fancy economic area, and so anything there was top dollar, even books that weren't in particularly great condition. Now for me, I'm a reader. As long as a book is in readable condition, and if I can, I like to get the edition that has the coolest cover art. That's all I'm really worried about. I'm not really interested in making sure that I've got, the first printing of a first edition or whatever. And so, because the prices of everything were so high, it really limited my ability to explore. And what I mean by that is, when I go to a bookstore, I like to look for weird, kind of wacky books no one's ever really heard of or talking about that look like they might be an interesting read. And if I spend, $1 or $2 on a book like that and discover that, it's not so good, well, that's okay. It was only $1 or $2. But I don't really want to spend $6, $8, $10, $20 on something that I'm not really sure if it's going to be good or not. And so when I picked up things today, I really kind of stayed with what was safe. Things by authors that I know I already like, or authors that are quite revered on BookTube. So we're going to do this in order of what I would consider least epic cover art to most epic cover art. But overall, the cover art of most of these is pretty good. So first up, we've got The Crystal Singer by Anne McCaffrey. This is a story about a lady who wants to be an opera singer, but fails her opera exam, and so she goes to another planet to make crystals grow. A little bit of a weird-looking face on that one. Kind of looks like a Neanderthal cave girl or something. Other than that, the cover's pretty fine. Now, I haven't read any Anne McCaffrey yet, and usually I don't load up on authors until I've tried them and know that I like them. But my girlfriend loves Anne McCaffrey, so that's fine. She can read that too. Now, I've tried some Andrea Norton before and found her pretty dry, but there are two books that I said if I ever found in the wild, I would pick up. And here's the first of those. This is Quag Keep, and this is a story about how a Dungeons and Dragons party gets sucked into the Dungeons and Dragons world. And it was when Dungeons and Dragons was new, because on the back they described Dungeons and Dragons as a war game, which was kind of its history. And okay cover on that one, just kind of brown. Doesn't really grab the eye. And this is the other Andrea Norton that I said I would buy if I ever found it. This is The Beastmaster. So this is quite different from the movie. This is actually about an indigenous person from the North Americas who gets back from some post-apocalyptic war and uses animals and creatures to complete some kind of mission. Pretty cool cover on that. You got the indigenous person there with a hawk battling this T-Rex with the ray gun, but I don't know, the T-Rex just looks kind of goofy. I kind of wish that they'd had the main character battling something a little more epic. No, I really enjoy Henry Kuttner. I made a video about The Dark World. It was pretty off the chain because he's a wild heavy metal writer. This is Fury, and it is about, I guess, some immortals that left planet Earth and decided they were just going to let planet Earth die. But one of the immortals decides, no, man, we're not doing that, and causes some kind of rebellion. So we got some kind of wrinkly old guy there getting swept up in the water slide at the fun park. So Henry Kuttner Fury, that should be a good read. Okay, so in addition to everything at the bookstore being pretty expensive, the customer service was not that great. The rudimentary functions of customer business interaction didn't go smoothly. Everything felt burdened with red tape. Everything felt like I had to make some kind of persuasion check. And so there was a pile of books there that had just come in, and they didn't have prices on them yet. Now, I had some email correspondence with the owner the day before when I checked to make sure the store was open, and the owner gave me permission to look through these new arrivals and price them with one of the clerks. And so when I said that to the clerk was like, oh, I don't really want to. So I had to use a persuasion check on that. And then when we priced this next book, the price was way too high. So I had to do another persuasion check to get it down to an okayish price. But when all was said and done, I was really pleased to get a copy of Samuel R. Delaney's The Jewels of Aptor. This is a really well done post-apocalyptic science fiction fantasy book. And I actually listened to an audiobook version of this on YouTube for a while, but the narration was not great. So now I can actually read it. I'm really pumped. And also in that box of free book, they had, of newly arrived books, they had a copy of The Zap Gun by Philip K. Dick. But that was apparently a first edition, first printing, and they wanted like more than my house for that. So yeah, I passed on that. I only had so much energy for so many persuasion checks. Now, I've read some Roger Zelazny before. He can be hit or miss for me. He's always imaginative, but he doesn't always pull off what he's trying to do with the greatest of poise. But I've heard a lot of good things about this. This is the Chronicles of Amber series. This is Book 2, The Guns of Avalon. And I guess it's about this guy who's in the real world, and he gets pulled into this alternate dimension where he's a prince and has all kind of adventures and intrigue. So this is Book 2 in that. And they had pretty much the whole series there. I just got the first two in case I didn't like it. And also, I thought that this edition had the best cover. It's got some like goblin people with swords flying around. So that's cool. Now, this is a book that was actually pretty cheap, and I did experiment on it. This one was just like $1. It's called The Vizier's Second Daughter. And apparently it is about time travelers who go back in time for some reason to get Scheherazade, but they get her younger sister on accident, and then they have all kinds of misadventures in the 21st century. This is by Robert F. Young. Never heard of that individual. It says A Time Napper in the Arabian Nights. So that's cool. Like the cover on that. A little more Roger Zelazny here. Isle of the Dead. This is about an immortal who doesn't really believe he's an immortal, I guess, but there's another immortal who is his rival, and he's full of confidence and wants the other immortal dead. Or so I understand it. It sounded cool. They had a lot of Roger Zelazny there. They also had these Roger Zelazny books that he co-wrote with somebody else. They're about this futuristic race that looked pretty wild. I don't have my phone here. I look at the picture. I take pictures of the books that I don't buy because sometimes I want a book later, and if I can't remember the title, it drives me nuts, so I've got a picture of it. But anyway, they only had book 2 and 3 of that Roger Zelazny space racing series. And I really prefer to buy the first books if I can. Some John Brunner. I've enjoyed him in the past. His Traveler in Black was pretty good, I thought. This is The Dramaturges of Yann. It is about a planet where the native species have kind of been subjugated by humans, and there's this traveling troupe of actors that goes around and tells the truth of planets and creates revolutions. Uh-oh. Sounds good and like a timely read to me. The Dramaturges of Yann. And of course, I got the first book in those Chronicles of Amber series I was talking about by Roger Zelazny. 9 Princes in Amber. Really like the cover art on that. Guy standing in front of that big blue mountain. Very nice. And then the last book we've got here, and what I consider the best of the cover art, Best of Henry Kuttner. Like I talked about before, I love Henry Kuttner. I think he's great, imaginative, heavy metal. And I love this alien dude having a toast. So, a toast to book hauls, buddy. Clink. Thanks for watching.